All right, guys, so let's talk about why boring channels are quietly dominating YouTube. And, I think that a lot of people think that if someone has a lot of views and a lot of subscribers, that means they're making a lot of money. And they also think, on the inverse, that if a channel doesn't have a lot of views, doesn't have a lot of subscribers, that they're also not making that much money. And I think a lot of people see this in the real world as well too. There are certain companies like that are kind of sexy, right? Companies that are software companies, finance companies, that type of thing, and they're making a ton of money, they get a lot of attention, and so everyone thinks that, other types of software and finance companies are the only ones that are making money. And I want you in real life, I want you to do this as a bit of a assignment, okay? Next time you're just walking around in the world and you see a company, right? Some kind of brand name, whether it's, for instance, I'll just give you an example. When I go down my elevator, there's a company that made the elevator. And I looked up that company on Google, and that company is worth like $4 billion. And they just make elevators. That's it. I think they make some other stuff too, but it's mostly just elevators, and they're worth like $4 billion. And you've probably never heard of them. The only time you'd ever hear of them is if you just looked at an elevator, and then you just looked the company up. It's not sexy at all. It's a boring company, okay? And it's not just elevators. It's paper companies. It's garbage companies. It's companies that manufacture boring stuff. Like, these are some of the companies that make the most money. And it's not just physical goods. It's also services, right? I met a guy who does media buying, specifically YouTube media buying, for big brands, and he's making over $100 million a year, right? So services are the same thing. And again, it's not a sexy company. He basically just does media buying for these big companies, and it's like not something you'd be super passionate about or something you'd hear a lot about. And in fact, you'll probably never hear about his company ever, right, on the news or anything like that. And yet he's absolutely crushing it. And it's really the same thing with YouTube channels. A lot of there's always the outliers which you pay attention to, the Mr. Beasts, the Logan Pauls, and all that kind of thing. But the reality of the situation is most of the YouTube channels that are absolutely crushing it are not getting a whole lot of views, are not getting a whole lot of subscribers, and they're usually talking about pretty boring topics. So I've heard somebody say this, there's billions in the boring, and it's very true. Whether it's on YouTube or if it's in real life businesses, there is billions in the boring. Most people want to just do their passion, right? They're just focused on, this is what all the gurus and everything sells to people, is like, oh, follow your passion and make money from it. When in reality, I think a better approach and a more sustainable approach is don't do something that you hate, but do something where you can actually help other people, right? Do something where you're solving problems for other people. And typically, these are going to be problems that you solved for yourself in the past. And sometimes these might be quite boring, right? They might not be the thing that you're number one most passionate about. They might not be number two, number three, but maybe they're like top 5. Maybe they're top 10. But they are going to get boring whether or not you're passionate about it or not. Like, professional athletes probably don't want to go out, to the gym every single day. Even if you're like a professional golf player, sometimes you probably don't want to go golf. Even if you're a professional video game player, you probably don't want to play video games all the time, right? It becomes a bit of a chore after a while, no matter how much you love it. So a lot of these channels that are absolutely crushing it, I'll just give you an example of one channel that I work with. And by the way, I don't give my clients away. I don't talk about my clients' channels because obviously I don't want my clients to have competitors pop out of the woodwork. That would be kind of a slap in the face to my clients if I literally talked about their channels. Some of the clients have more mass market channels where it'd be harder to break into, but a lot of these clients kind of just discovered these untapped niches, and they don't get that many views, and they're absolutely crushing it. So I'll give you an example of one client without giving away his channel. He gets about 100 to 200 views per video. He uploads literally Loom videos, so very, very easy videos to make, just recording his screen and his face with his webcam. That's it. Not even with good audio or anything like that. He actually wears a headset when he records his videos too. And he helps recruit for a very specific position that it's difficult to find in the technology industry. It's a super hard position to to source, place, and find people who are good in that position in the tech industry. It's a position that pays $100,000, $200,000 a year, at least, sometimes more, and very hard to find people that are good at it. And he's good at finding people that are good at it. And with this tiny little YouTube channel, he gets about 100, 200 views per video, and he made $2 million last year. Okay? Because all of those 100 to 200 views that he gets per video are probably all CEOs that are desperately trying to find someone who can hire this position for them, or hiring managers who are also desperately trying to find someone who can hire this position for them, because it's a tough position to hire for. Okay? So he's absolutely crushing it, hiring for this position. He's making $2 million a year, and 100, 200 views per video. Anybody who'd look at his channel would probably think he's wasting his time uploading on this channel. Why is he wasting his time? But he's absolutely crushing it. Another client I worked with gets about 500 to 1,000 views per video. He helps with a very specific type of technology. It's kind of like a consulting company for this very specific type of technology that a lot of business owners use. And he's kind of like an IT consulting company for them. He gets like 500,000 views per video. He made $10 million last year from YouTube. Okay. Selling high ticket, obviously. The recruiting company guy, every time he places somebody, he probably gets paid around $50,000, right? So he probably placed around 40 people last year. And so other clients, they might get 5 to 15,000 views per video, a little bit more mass market, right? But again, selling high ticket. One client gets about 5 to 15,000 views per video. He is making about 5 to 6 million this year. Okay, so a little bit more mass market, but still crushing it, right? So, and there's tons of these examples, and most influencers, you don't realize this, but most influencers are broke. Pat CC, respect to this guy, by the way, for this, came out with a video where he said that last year he made $25,000. This is a guy who has 2 different channels, and I think the combination of both of them, he has over 2 million, 3 million subscribers, somewhere around there. And he made about $25,000 last year from 2 million subscribers. Okay, so less than what the average American makes, probably around minimum wage he made last year. Okay, but to the outside, the average person, they probably think he's super successful on YouTube. Another guy, Boogie2988. And by the way, respect to these guys for actually being honest and transparent about their income. He made about $40,000 last year from YouTube, and he has about nearly 4 million subscribers. Again, the average person probably thinks he's crushing it, making like $1 million a year. He's not. And then you've got all these tiny little boring channels that are absolutely crushing it, right? It's the same thing in the blog world, by the way. This isn't something that's like specific to YouTube, right? It's the same thing in the blog world. There's a lot of blogs out there that get millions of views per month, and they're doing okay. Like maybe they're making money. Yeah, they're doing okay. And then there's blogs out there that get like thousands or tens of thousands of views or page views, whatever you call it in the blog world, per month. But they're getting the right views, and they're absolutely crushing it. Right? They're making millions of dollars a year. So it's not just YouTube. It's basically every platform out there. But I do think YouTube it's more extreme on YouTube than it is on other platforms. So yeah, this is it's honestly something that I've seen over and over again, and a lot of my clients that come to me, they either want that or that's what they're already doing, and they need help from me scaling it up, essentially, right? And so there's a couple advantages to this, by the way, that are indirect advantages. One of the biggest advantages is when you're not getting that many views, you're not going to have that much competition because it's not obvious that you're making money. Whereas if you're getting a lot of views, people just automatically assume you're making money, so you're going to have copycats left and right. Boring equals profitable, guys. And also, boring content tends to also be evergreen content, and boring content also tends to be bottom of funnel content. Now, what do I mean by that? Evergreen content means you post it one time and it continues getting views for years and years down the line. So 5, 10, 15 years down the line, it's still going to get views. And then also, on top of that, bottom of funnel content means when people are interested in that topic, they're usually very close to making a buying decision. Okay, so top of funnel would be they're not interested in buying your thing, or maybe they're mildly interested in it. Middle of funnel would be like a medium interest, and then bottom of funnel would be like actually they're ready, they're pretty close to making a buying decision, right? And so a lot of the time the boring content does tend to be bottom of funnel content where people are actually watching it to make a buying decision. Whereas top of funnel, it's super sexy, it's super fun content, it's like, fun to make and stuff. But most of the time people are not going to be interested in making a buying decision, right? So there's a lot of other advantages to making kind of like boring content on YouTube. And also, to be fair, most of the big channels, like Alex Hormozy, for instance, when he started off, he was just talking about gyms, like how to do marketing and sales for gyms. Then he expanded to like sales and marketing for physical brick and mortar businesses, in-person businesses, brick and mortar. And then he expanded to sales and marketing for all businesses. And then he expanded to just like all business content for all businesses. And then he's like talking about like how to eat protein cheap or something, like silly stuff like that. But he got more mass market. And you have that option. And sometimes that can make you more money. Sometimes when you decide to go mass market, it can make you more money. Of course, your qualification process, if you're selling a high ticket product, is going to be an absolute nightmare, right? You're going to have to qualify the hell out of people. Whereas if you have niche content, you probably don't even have to have a qualification process. The fact that they're watching your content is the qualification process, right? So YouTube is educating, nurturing, and qualifying them all in one. And it's getting you traffic, which is beautiful. So you can have the most simple funnel in the world. In fact, when I started this channel you're watching this on right now, my funnel was just a Calendly link. And I asked a few questions, and I'd accept the calls that people booked that were qualified, and I would simply cancel the ones that were not qualified. It was that simple. And I made $30,000 in my first month on this channel, right? So if you want to know how to find the right types of content, I made a GPT that will help you to find the right types of content for your niche, which I'll put down in the description and the pinned comment below. Check that out. Definitely check it out. It's going to be super helpful for finding this type of content where it's bottom of funnel, it's boring, it's niche, it's evergreen, but it'll find the right types of content that'll actually make you get views that are going to result in sales. Also, if you have a YouTube channel where you're getting views but you're not getting sales, you can funnel those views to boring bottom of the funnel content and actually get sales. Because what's happening to you right now, most likely, is you are doing all the work to make your prospects problem aware, solution aware, vehicle aware, right? So that you're making them aware that they have a problem. You're making them aware that there is a solution to their problem. You're making them aware that there is a specific vehicle that would be a really good solution. And then guess what? They're going and buying from someone else. So you're doing all the marketing work, and then they're going and buying from someone who's just making the bottom of the funnel content. So you need to start making this type of content. And this is something that I help my clients with all the time. So definitely check that out. And also book a call if you are either a YouTuber who's having trouble monetizing, or you're a YouTuber who's having trouble, making content efficiently, the right types of content. Or if you're a business owner, like an online service provider, coach, consultant, agency owner, etc., who wants to grow and make money on YouTube efficiently without taking that much time, as little as 1 hour a week to make content. Then book a call down in the description in the pinned comment below. We'll figure out where you are right now, what your goal is. We'll make a plan to get from where you are to your goal. It'll be super valuable. And then at the very end, we'll see if we're a good fit to work together. Okay? So it'll be the most valuable 45 minutes you spend on YouTube or studying YouTube, getting coached, consulted on with your YouTube channel this year. Whether we end up working together or not, it'll be super valuable. So book that call, check it out down in the description in the pinned comment below. And also watch this case study video that I did right here on someone who was having this exact same problem and they were able to solve it.